Hi folks, welcome to Follow the Leader, a podcast focused on telling character-driven stories through the use of GM-less tabletop games where we can all take the lead. You can find us on Tumblr at FTLcast and at FTLcast.com. We also have our Patreon at patreon.com/FTLcast. Today we're playing This Night on the Rooftops by C.M. Rubsat. For those of you who are new to the game, here are the basics. This is a game about gazing out over the smokestacks after dark, with the wind in your hair and 1,000 lights of progress on the streets below. This is a game about a friend at your side as you teeter along the edges of the Great Bridge, browsing the enchanter stalls that litter the cobble. This is a game about casting spells given by the elder demons to evade the city guard in case they send you to work in a factory, making you into little more than fuel for the ever-burning industry of metal that seeks to drive all magic from the world. This is a game about making friends with alleyways and pilfering pies from windows and toppling the works of those whose greedy hands stain all that they touch. This is a game about industry, magic, children, and revolution. The city waits for no one, but with a bit of trickery and a bit of luck, maybe it'll carve out a little bit of itself where you can be happy. I'm Jade, and you can find me most places on the internet at JadeOxfordRose, and my pronouns are they, them. Playing with me today, we have Sam.
Hello, I'm Sam. You can find me on Tumblr at SassyTale, and I have a website, but it's very out of date. I haven't updated it in quite a while, so still got my art on it, samkalo.art, but I haven't updated it in a long time.
Should update it.
And I use he, they pronouns.
And we have Zachary.
Hello, I am Zachary Fredrickson. You can find me on Twitter at Obfuscating God, on Blue Sky at Zachary Olsen, and the ZacharyOlsen.com, ZacharyOlsenPresents.com. The music I make at IamBugbear.bandcamp.com. I have a lot of websites, and I don't update them. My pronouns are he, him.
Our lines, things we absolutely do not want to see, are homophobia and transphobia, racism, sexism, anti-Semitism, violence against children and animals, sexual assault, domestic violence or intimate partner violence, unwanted pregnancy, plagues, and pandemics. Our veils, which are things we're fine with addressing but will just fade to black on, are steamy situations, graphic descriptions of bodily harm, and terminal illness. Content warning for this game, we are playing children. I know there's no intent on doing any on-screen violence, as per our line, but I'm sure there'll be some mild peril. Think your Goonies, think those sorts of 80s movies. So we're not going to show anything directly horrible happening to these kids, but they live in a hard world, and they're fighting against big, powerful forces. So if children in distress or in danger is a topic that is upsetting for you, this arc might be one for you to skip. Unless we turn out to have a jolly fun time, in which case we'll put a note that it's all good. But now that we've got all of that out of the way, let's get started. Alright, so we've got our players, we've got our playbooks, we've got our world playbooks. Night on the Rooftops uses no dice, no masters system. It's also that belonging outside belonging style of game, which you've heard us play on the podcast before. So it's all about, we have a token economy that we can use to make moves. And the ingrained sort of mechanics of the system, of this particular system, I should say, is if we spend 3 scenes, or after we've spent 3 scenes in a particular element of the world, of which there are 5 outlined, we have the alleys, the canals, the mansions, the markets, the parks, and the rooftops. once 3 scenes have been spent at one of them, there's going to be a little bit of revolution. Something about the city or that section of the city will change, and we'll move closer towards upheaval in the city as a whole. But first off, we should get to know our characters. We'll introduce those, and then I figure we'll flesh out the city a little bit. We'll introduce you to the sections of the world, the flavor text for those, and how we might be doing things maybe a smidgen different, maybe not. But let's meet some peeps. Sam, do you want to go first, as I've been talking for a bunch?
Sure. I am playing a gutter witch. It's hard to learn proper magic on the streets. Most go to an academy or become apprentices. You dropped out because of a lack of money or privilege. But you're coming to learn the drains have their own secrets. Her look is too wide hat and seeing eye toad. By which I mean she has a little bit difficult seeing, but I love her toad. Her toad's name is Dirt. His name is Dirt.
Beautiful.
And her name is Salmon, and she found it in a book.
Beautiful.
Her desire is to show someone her favorite place by the canals. Her favorite book is The History of the Canals, 4th edition.
Wow.
All right. Zach, do you want to tell us about your character, or your playbook, and then your character?
Yes. I am playing the Tinker Talk. You have a job, kind of. If you show up to the factory, you get some pocket change. But more important is the chance to get some materials to build your own talks, little machines and projects that are equal parts art and engineering. My name is Click Flywheel. I'm a Tinker Talk. I have a heated overcoat, which is very useful if I ever go outside the walls, and an armored glove, which is very useful for handling hot things, of which there are many inside the walls. I desire stuff like a decent paycheck, or to show off my skills to an audience, or to build presence for someone else. I have a dependent, someone I'm taking care of, which is a small, fluffy, I think it's a dog.
Probably a dog.
It's small and fluffy, that's for sure.
Uh-huh.
What else could it be?
Which of your desires is your most important one right now? Is your first one that you're focusing on?
My first one is show off my skills in front of an audience.
All right. And lastly, I am playing the Soot Scrambler. You're a little demon, a student of smoke and brick and flame. You're not used to people like this, places where not everyone is out to get you, but you're getting help to adjust. This little guy, gender neutral's name is Ember, goes by they, them pronouns. Their look is wrong eyes and precious horns. I took precious to be cute, but also they could be made out of a precious material. Who can say?
Who can say?
Desires include lurking, have someone call you handsome, find a new family. But right now, my big thing is I want to mess up a place that is normally full of luxury. And my specific playbook question is to do with touch, and my favorite thing to touch is the roughest brickwork. Thankfully, this city has a lot to offer. So each of us have our specific to our playbook question that we've already answered, but each of us has a question that we would ask our fellow children. So Sam, your favorite book, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what's the question?
The question is, who thinks it's boring?
I feel it's probably Ember.
Is it Ember? Interesting. I love that.
Just like, no.
What is Ember's question? Ember's question is, who walked in the rain with you? And I would say, Salmon definitely walks in the rain.
Maybe. I'm not saying salmon does not walk in the rain with a toad friend. That makes absolute sense, but we should probably all have a link with one of the others.
That's true, yeah.
Don't want to get a closed loop. So...
That would create a closed loop. Yes, you are correct.
I'm very smart. Been playing tabletop games so many years.
God, we have been playing tabletop games for so many years together.
Yeah. 6 years, baby!
Jesus Christ, it has been 6 years.
6 years in a movie.
But yeah, Ember's question is, as Sam said, who walked in the rain with them? Presumably while they're looking around for some really good bricks. You know, gotta find the best bricks.
Well, I mean, I do appreciate good material foraging.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think probably, I mean, I would have probably had the umbrella more than been enjoying it.
Cool.
That's but that's what the overcoat's for. It's it holds off the moisture, and I've got an umbrella to hold off more moisture. It's just tarp on a stick, but it works.
Beautiful. As well as a sensory thing, because of soot scramblers being creatures of like flame and smoke and stuff, I like the idea that by touching the bricks, I can feel when the clay was fired, like the history in them, and that's why bricks are so interesting. It isn't purely a sensory thing. It's like, and that's why the roughest brickwork is best, because it's the oldest and has the most history, or perhaps is made of something different, and so reacted to fire in a different way.
I like
kiln.
But yes, I'm sorry, Amber does not like your book.
Sad.
It's a book is the problem.
So any of the books I chose would have been the most boring thing in the world.
There aren't enough pictures. Who cares about water? Falls out of the sky all the time, colder, and then it gets less cold as it gets close to the ground, and then it's just water.
And then it flows into the canals.
Boring. All right.
Then mine was so I got the fluffy small dog.
Question mark.
My question: who found them with you? Well, I guess it would have to be Salmon. What kind is this? A dog, Salmon? What is this?
It's not a dog. But is it really a dog? Who knows? Have any of these children seen a fucking dog before?
I mean, maybe. There's animals here.
Maybe. There's animals here. As far as we know, it's a dog. Salmon's pretty convinced it's a dog, but also, who knows?
Beautiful.
I think Salmon was the one who identified it as a dog.
All right.
Is it really a dog? Let's play to find out what happens.
Try to find out what happens. Cool. So we have these 5 sections of the city. And for each of them, we need to decide 1 or 2 aesthetics that will then go on our city sheet. And each of the pieces of the world has different impulses. The book gives us suggestions for people that might represent that facet of the world, calls them faces, and obviously each section of the world has its own moves. And during scenes, whoever's not necessarily the lead character will pick up the role of the world, manifesting through whichever section of it we decide in the moment to be in. So, first off, and we'll take turns reading these out, so you're not just listening to me the whole time. But first off, using the Play Kit PDF, the markets. Stalls and shops and ever-shifting desires. Silver and gold flow like water as the rich get richer and the poor relentlessly tread water. You can find anything here, and all of it, down to the last tiny curiosity, will have a price. And the aesthetics... Oh, sorry, it's impulses. The market has impulses to demand payment, get crowded, and bend to the whims of the rich. And the aesthetics it gives us to choose from are traveling tents, magical exploitation, noble propaganda, oppressive innovation, warfront curios, hollering entertainment, stoic and brash enforcers, and clockwork dreams. Though it occurs to
Warfront
me,
curios.
as I say, yeah, by all means. But it occurs to me we should say what city we're in. Zach, you want to elaborate a little, as the person I know has probably thought about it the most?
Oh, and to be fair, I haven't thought about it hardly at all. So we are in one of the several, perhaps the central or the greatest city of the Iron Gospel, who were a group of humans in the lands of endless winter who showed up at the very end of our Ironsworn game and then later showed up again as antagonists in our Patreon Fabula Ultima arc. They are a group of people who, in the wake of the endless winter, have started basically consolidating in the same way that the Great Burrow did, but in a more bad way. Basically, just they would go at the beginning, this was like 20 some years ago now, because Mirren has grown up. Like the player characters from the Fabula Ultima game grew up in this new kind of world, which means that it's been quite some time. But at the beginning, right at the beginning, when Halfdan Old Dog and the other two who I didn't play and thus whose names are less immediately in my mind, the ogre and the weasel man.
Mir was my character's name.
Mir.
And Morden.
A lot of M's. Mir and Morden. Was it originally they were like just like these big gangs of like roving, like almost bandits, where they would go into little like smaller villages and they would say, hey, you can't survive alone, you're gonna come with us and we're gonna build these huge metal towns which now become cities where we'll be able to use magic, like we'll be using our own kind of magic to heat it, and the more bodies we put together, the warmer the city will be. And this was the part that made them kind of bad guys, is to make sure that you don't get second thoughts about coming back and trying to rough it on your own and dying out here in the woods. We're going to let you keep a couple of things, and then we're going to burn down your village. And we're going to take the coal from that, the charcoal from that, and we're going to bring it back to power our furnaces. And they would just do that. And so they would like just destroy small villages and towns with the explicit aim of driving people into their kind of just these hot box cities, basically.
Just like the most potent and awful combination of colonialization and industrialization.
Yes.
Yeah. Kind of very, very, very like what's the word? Not very subtle. The Iron Gospel are a deeply unsubtle people, and then over the decades, they kind of grew up this religion, which is the gospel itself, culture of like iron walls to keep you warm, iron arms to keep you safe, and there was a third line that I can't remember, but it's basically just like it's very paternalistic. It's very like this is the only place that's safe, and so we're going to destroy every other alternative so that people don't get the wrong idea. And they also are very anti, like, fairy, very anti-magic that isn't the dark red flame. And, yeah.
Yeah.
And now we find ourselves in the heart of the Iron Gospel's stronghold, or the heart of their empire, question mark?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's probably a few individual cities, but
do we think this was maybe this was already a town or a city of maybe some note, and it became this bigger thing?
Oh yeah, like this was at one point the village, or like the town that the person who would kind of draft the gospel was living in, and so was able to, like, there was this was like a garrison or some kind of place first.
Yeah, the game text specifies that it's sort of like about industrial fantasy, and I did some like looking around, and I feel like the Bloodborne games are slightly too dark a fantasy, but that sort of mixture of very urban, but that touch of fantastical about it.
Mm.
I'm talking out my ass as somebody that's never played one of the Soulsborne games, but I have seen pictures, and I've seen clips of playthroughs.
I've watched other people play them.
So, but to me, they look very Victorian looking, and that's all that late 1800s industrial revolution. But there's also like bits of magic and monstrosities and all manner of fun things like that. And that I like the notion that a human stronghold becoming this emblem of humankind and human ingenuity, where the world has like driven the fairy folk underground.
Mm-hmm.
Literally.
Yeah, like it talks about like, oh, there's no dragons anymore because of human like industry. And I think in this version of things, like that's the idea of like, oh, the modern world is choking it out. This is a bit more specific, or I guess like more pointed, of like this group of people are actively trying to do that.
Yeah. Because we've talked about before the forces of Lady Winter in this universe. And before we elaborate on what's, do we think, and I feel like this was maybe hinted at but not fully put like at the forefront, what is the Iron Gospel's relationship, if any, to Lady Winter and her seat of power?
I would imagine very antagonistic, but probably, I don't know. Do you think that they're, in my mind, they're very defensive and like almost isolationist, except for when they're trying to like deal with threats to their power. Which, so I don't know that they would be like sending armies to like besiege her wintry palace.
Sure.
But I think that they would be like, oh, well, if her agents come near, they better not come near here. We'll get them.
Yeah. Like, they're not sending armies, but they're also not sending an envoy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not sending diplomats. They're not trying to like talk her out of this at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there something to the notion that she provides, not to get topical, but how like with fascism, there's always like the boogeyman, the bad guy, the person we're fighting against. Is the Queen of Lady Winter is useful in that regard, right? Because she's like the evil of fairy-esque magic, of she brought this down on us, but it wasn't just her, it was those weirdo fairies that decided to muck everything up, and that's why we don't trust them.
It was fairy hubris.
Yeah.
Cool.
All
right. And timeline-wise, do we think this is a bit after the Fabula Ultima game? Are we like maybe 30 years after Winter Cloaked the World?
We could. I mean, I feel like this was probably happening, contemporary to
That works for
the
me.
Fabula Ultima.
Yeah.
Just because, like, I don't know what the Fabula Ultima game might do to the
Fair
people,
point.
to the Iron Gospel.
Absolutely. Then yeah.
Do we want to summarize what happened in the Fabula Ultima game for people who haven't?
Nope. People need to support our Patreon.
People gotta support our Patreon, so go pay for our Patreon to find out what happened there.
To be clear, there were no world-affecting events. Just people trying to have an effect on the world.
Yeah, I mean, and it's the big. What we've played at Fabula Ultima so far is like the beginning of
Epic quest.
an adventure that might change how things work. But that we just played the beginning, like the call to action. Basically, we didn't. I mean, it's very good, and it gives you an interesting new perspective. But it isn't like.
We could always play more Fabula Ultima.
That's exactly why I don't want to
Yep.
to brush
shut
in
that
with
door. Yeah.
Yeah.
But and here we are with another perspective on this world. And so to loop back, having established more about this city that we are in, or how it came to be, a city that's arguably still growing, still changing. What aesthetics do we like for the markets? To come back to this list.
Think Warfront Curios.
Mm-hmm. Say what you're gonna say.
Oh, I was gonna say I think Warfront Curios feels sort of right for this. Like that they would be selling perhaps trinkets of fairy magic that have been conquered and captured type stuff.
Mm-hmm. I dig that.
Mm-hmm.
Or stuff they say is fairy magic.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. What about you, Zach? It sounded like you had a thing that piqued your interest.
I do. I think that it could. One thing, it's not really on here. It's not on the list.
Okay.
But an aesthetic that I think would be very cool is like almost a like a flea market thing. But like, you know how like flea markets have like stalls where people set up?
Yeah.
What if instead of them just being like open stalls, it was like almost like a honeycomb of stalls. They all have walls and shutters, like a mall, but like super, like a flea market that was built like a mall, where like each individual stall has its own like security shutters and stuff. So it's all very close and cramped, but like, you know, they can open it up and it's like, oh, you can get in there. And it's like, you're talking to everyone through a window, basically.
I like that a lot.
I like that a lot, yeah.
Like everything's got a counter high window that opens in so that you can get stuff. You're not allowed to go into any stores.
No, I like that a lot. How do we want to describe? Do we like that as like honeycomb or
labyrinthine?
Ooh, yeah.
Labyrinthine sounds good.
Love that. All right. And as the city goes through upheaval, something about this will maybe change. But for now, we've done the markets. It just says 1 to 2. So, Sam, appropriately enough, given Salmon's interests.
The canals! Endless winding rivers full of boats and the muck and detritus of the city, equal parts its lifeblood and its waste. You can get anywhere here, if you wish. The canals have the impulses to connect everything, pollute without constant flow, and put pressure where nobody is looking.
Nice.
And for aesthetics, I'm feeling like sick water and under the houses. Like, the water isn't great. We're melting it with magic. It's flowing through everything. It's probably pretty yucky.
Oh yeah, something we said up front, like off mic, before when we were setting up, one of the ideas is that like the walls and like probably like on like almost like street lamps or something, like something tall, like that goes over buildings. They have these like braziers of like super hot metal, uh, like heat lamps almost, that are supposed to melt snow before it falls into the city. And so that, you know, it's like weird heated snow rain that then collects, and there's the fire of the Iron Gospel is like sooty and like coal, like, and like dark and like kind of dirty. That's kind of like their vibe. So probably follows that the water would similarly be.
Ooh, I have an idea for the water as well. It's uncomfortably warm.
Oh yeah,
like
probably. I mean, all the walls are warm, so it makes sense that like, and there's like a, I imagine there's like some sort of like deep like super furnace burning under the city that probably heats the ground too.
Neat.
All right, Zach, you want to read the next section of the world?
Yeah, the alleys, tiny winding tunnels to the tallest brick roads between the houses. These are places full of secrets, lurking just beneath the veneer of civility and the rest of the city that the rest of the city puts on. You can hide anything here or find anything. The impulses of the alleys are to diffuse attention, make things harder than they have to be, and provide an alternative route. Interesting. And one or two aesthetics, we've got, I like sewer walkways / entwining ladders.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely thinking like this place is very cramped. Like you're to call them alleys is like you're like walking on like climbing on pipes and stuff.
Good shit.
And like vents and like crisscross.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
Using like basically like service access maintenance tunnels are basically what the alleys are.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah, big fan of this.
I like adding to that then squished but tall, because I feel that lends itself to that whole vibe.
Yeah. Like you can look up and see it, and it's like a spider web of pipes and vents and stuff.
It's giving me big Zion from the Matrix movies energy. Okay. Next up, the parks. Well, we should think about how we want to handle this, given everything we've established so far. The parks. Magic has a strong connection to the forests, and the forests were once everywhere. Not anymore. Nowadays, they, and the magic they hold, is relegated to parks and gardens. However, it is far from gone. I love the notion that there is a big tree somewhere that when they tried to chop it down to expand, like the tree had things to say on the matter, and people were like, okay, we build around the tree. Because people are dying.
I do like that.
Was something we were talking about before we went on mic is the nature of what demons in this setting are. Daemons. And that regardless of how much the Iron Gospel tries to snuff out or convert other forms of magic and power, I like the idea that any magic they can't get rid of, they just try to contain. So imagining like when you see like big iron spikes around a tree, like that kind of thing. Like, okay, we can't get rid of it, but we're going to manage it.
I like that. And I think the aesthetics that sort of would tie to that would be something like a bound fae.
And the impulses of the part. To lead them off the paths, to revel in the natural, and be the oldest place. So there's just like these little patches surrounded by iron. It's like, I think, like anti-bird architecture, like bird spikes and stuff like that. But for keep small fairies away. Like,
oh my god.
especially given the connotations of iron and cold iron with magic. Cool. All right. Sam.
The rooftops. The rooftops are the great connector. We sit here with our friends, with the sky, with ourselves. Here we see the stars. Here we see the innumerable lights of the city. Here the horizon looks so close we could reach out and touch it. The impulses of the rooftops are to tie everything together, to give a different perspective, and to be a welcoming place.
All right. And what are the aesthetics it offers, and what do we want to have? Well, wisps of smoke, it seems, and tall chimneys both make sense. And I love raised pathways as a continuation of what we've already established about the alleys. What do you think, Zach?
What's that?
Aesthetics for the rooftops.
Yeah.
How the raised pathways feels like a nice extension of what we've established about the alleys. And maybe either tall chimneys or wisps of smoke, like, because it's how high up are the rooftops versus how tall are the chimneys, given the whole industrial nature of the city.
It's probably humid up there from all the vaporized snow.
Yeah.
Gross.
We
hang out there for funsies.
Not much else to go.
Yeah.
And then last, the mansions are an ideal, nobility or the divine right to rule. They are a symptom of wealth, the powerful sitting in their gleaming and rotten houses with eyes of cold silver and hearts of lifeless gold. You don't belong here. This place is not for you. The mansions have the impulses to be dismissively cruel, to punish mistakes, and to create the real problems. This is interesting because this is kind of like a theocracy here, like the Iron Gospel. Unless, do we have a temporal royal here?
I don't think that it's like a royal, but like maybe the center of their religion is here. Like a big church.
Like Vatican City.
Yeah.
So the mansions, I think, they are a symbol of power, less maybe wealth in the strictly monetary sense, but the Iron Gospel have the power, and so their buildings are but it is big, like religious officials decked out in like gold, or maybe pyrite in this case. Yeah, see what I did there? See what I did there? I'm very clever. But
Sure.
You don't have to humor me for stuff like that.
I just Googled it.
Okay, fair play. I'm just being a goober. Anywho, but yes,
I thought it was clever.
Thank you. But yeah, seats of power. So things like looking at the aesthetics, things like family lineages. Some of the ones that they have to choose from here. We've got old money, family lineages, competitions in cruelty, military deification. Well, there we go. Extravagant and exclusive festivities, industrial overlords, and separated communities.
Yeah, I mean, military deification and extravagant and exclusive festivities sound about right.
Yeah, like paladins or like crusaders coming back or like their families getting much more space, and it could be even like a thing of like you get space in exchange for service.
Yeah.
The truly like devout.
You give your body to the Iron Gospel. The Iron Coin. I feel like this is a Game of Thrones thing. But
Mhm.
was it Bravos, the Iron Bank? That's what my brain was connecting to. But yeah, that trade-off, just like you give yourself to the gospel and we will look after your family. They will have the best. They will be the elite.
Or I mean, probably there's probably like what's the word, a spectrum of it, right? Where it's like, oh yeah, grunts, you get, you get a little bit. Like the more you serve, like the deeper you get into it, the more you like, take the weird magic into yourself or graft yourself with black iron, the more you get for that.
Of course, the highest officials, they don't have to do that. They're right. They put in the work.
Mm-hmm.
The Iron Pope.
The Iron Pope.
Probably it's something other than that.
Fair enough.
But yeah.
I'm just tickled by the notion.
Mm-hmm.
We don't take Catholicism seriously here, and neither should you.
No, we super don't.
Love the aesthetics, could do without a lot of the other stuff. TBH. Tamsin Weir gets it.
Yes, truly.
All right.
Yeah, it's like some kind of like a high priest or something.
Yeah. So military deification, did we want maybe separated communities then, like for these like tiers reflecting service?
Oh yeah. Yeah, like do you think they're higher up in the city or lower down? Like do you think is this city go up or does it like go deeper into the earth? I guess probably tall. Like tall is a big part of it. So
tall makes sense, but maybe there's also some digging down.
What if it's like an apartment complex almost?
Ooh.
But because it's like it goes from like almost like favelas and shanty towns to like real apartments to like penthouses.
Yeah, love that.
There's a game just came out called Fallen Aces, and one of which is like not really a touchstone in any way here, but there's a thing in Fallen Aces that you can see. The main character is someone who has been kicked out of something called Golden Tower, which is like a district in the city. And you can see the Golden Tower every so often, and it's like this truly enormous like building that like looms over the rest of the city that you can only see like the like part of. And it could be that like, this is like built around something like that, like a spire that's full of people.
I like that.
Good.
As you can see, like there's like normal sized big buildings, and then behind them in the distance, you see the Golden Tower.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
It's wild.
So, my friends, we have made it through our world building.
Yeah.
Do we want to have a name for that?
For the
central,
the Golden Tower.
Yeah, because it's not gold. That's what it's called in Fallen Aces. But
okay, maybe the Pyrite Tower. No, you don't like it.
No, well, because it's just the same thing, but just one thing is different.
It's too derivative. Okay. I mean, we could also come up with like what we call it, and then like never actually decide what it's really called.
I'm thinking like the rail spike or something.
Interesting.
Could also offer up like that. I like that as a colloquial name. How do we feel about Ferrum Heights or Ferrum Heights from the Latin for iron?
I can dig that.
Ferrum or Ferrium? Which do we prefer?
What's the difference?
Ferrum is Ferrum, which is iron's chemical name, and it comes from the Latin word ferrium, which is basically the same but has an I after the two R's.
I like Ferrum.
I like Ferrum as well.
But yeah, that's why Fe is the symbol for iron on the periodic table.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But yeah, but the rail spike is what the people that don't live there call it.
That brings up an interesting question, though. The Iron Gospel has invented trains?
No.
It could have.
I mean, one of the paths that's suggested is trains, but it could be like a very simple sort of line that goes around. It doesn't have to be steam powered trains. Like
I was just thinking of like rails. I was like, wait, we have rails, so that means we have something that rides on those rails.
I'm just thinking,
I mean, like
Westerns,
mine carts.
Mine
carts are on rails too.
Yeah.
Oh, it's true, they do.
Yeah, some poor sucker's got to push them around.
To be fair, like fucking coal-powered trains is like on brand for the Iron Gospel, so I'm not against that.
Yeah.
I'm not against it either. I was just like bringing to attention that we had just implied this.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
I mean, that's that or the big nail. You could just call it the big nail.
The big nail.
I can't tell what. Yeah, Ferrum Heights, the big nail.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Does the city have a name?
I would hope so.
Do we have any ideas for what the name could be?
Let me do some thinking.
The city. The only city we've ever known.
We are so chronically bad as a podcast for doing that. Like, I mean, like, forgetting to name stuff is a chronic problem we tend to run into. Like, shout out to Last Train to Bremen, where we did not name our band.
Oh yeah, that's true. Okay, so we got a couple options. One that I thought of could be just Fireside. Or Inglenook. Which is the name which is the chimney corner to recess that adjoins a fireplace.
Yeah.
Or just the hearth.
I was going to suggest hearth. Like,
I just wondered if hearth is too nice, but I guess they would call themselves something nice too.
Yeah, the hearth is the hearth is the center of the home, and if this is the center of their power and it's all around fire, I like it. Could just be Hearthstone, like built.
Yeah, I love Blizzard games.
Oh, fuck those guys. Never mind.
I think just Hearth.
Hearth is great.
Just Hearth by itself, not even the Hearth, but Hearth.
All right. So, before we get into scenes, just to run through the principles of the city and we can add to these as we see fit. But the principles of the city that are given to us in the book are: the new will always win over the old. Change is inevitable. The city can talk directly to you or in a sideways manner. Everyone will have a chance to speak, even if it is important that they stay silent. And we're here for each other, even if we sometimes fight or yell. In the end, we're the closest friends can be. All right. So, before we start with scenes, other than children, how old do we think our little group of miscreants is? How do we maybe meet and start running around? Did we meet on the rooftops, as the game might suggest?
I like that idea.
Cool.
Friends high above the city. I love and protect my gang. I want to say that, like, Salmon is probably maybe 12.
Oh, okay. I was thinking it would be like teens.
12
I guess we're supposed to be kids.
was about to say 12 is like almost a teen.
What was that, middle school? We think we could be middle schoolers rather than like high schoolers.
High schoolers, yeah.
I suppose. Sure.
We can be a
We'll
little
be
older.
13.
Okay.
We could be a little older. I mean, like, Salmon can be like 15 if you wanted to be a little older.
If you want the vibe of like
the older we are, the less the peril is
That's true.
discomforting to some.
That's true.
That is true.
Okay. I'm down with that. I am totally down with that. And also, I'm old, so anyone under the age of 20 is a baby. So,
Truly.
That's rich coming from you, Samwise. Second youngest
Hey,
in the podcast.
28 at this point.
At this point.
I turned 31 in 3 days.
Damn.
Yes, and I'm 38. Let's move on.
Look, I may be the second youngest on the podcast, but also I feel older and older with every day that passes.
Well, that's time.
That's time for you.
Yeah.
Okay. I think demons maybe have a slightly different thing going on age-wise. Because they're not like fully human in the same way. But it's like equivalent of like that sort of precocious. Like 14 sounds good. Ish.
Mm-hmm.
That's the vibe.
Sure. And I'll be the oldest.
Okay.
By like just a little bit.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Are you going to
Alright.
be our cool 18-year-old friend?
Not that much older.
No, I don't think you're a cool 18-year-old friend if your friends are 14 and 13 and 15.
That's
No.
fair, yeah. You don't want to be our cool friend who can buy us drugs?
Christ, Sam. So Salmon's like maybe 15. Click is like 16-ish, and Ember is the youngest at approximately the same age as they are. Shrug emoji.
Children.
Okay.
Their ages are an enigma.
Yeah.